Scully and Mark Cuban are hypocrites, and their unwillingness to not make things about them and their comfortability, as well as their refusal to step outside of themselves and look at the world from someone else's view, are why. Over the weekend, retired legendary Dodgers broadcaster Scully made headlines when he answered a question about player protest in the NFL. "I have only one personal thought, really. And I am so disappointed," Scully said. "I used to love, during the fall and winter, to the NFL on Sunday. And it's not that I'm some great patriot. I was in the Navy for a year. Didn't go anywhere. Didn't do anything. But I have overwhelming respect and admiration for anyone who puts on a uniform and goes to war. So the only thing I can do in my little way is not to preach. I will never another NFL game." Scully will turn 90 later this month, but yet somehow a man who has seen so much happen in this country in terms of race relations, sports, and social issues, still refuses to understand or focus on why players are even protesting in the first place. Scully would rather focus on anyone who puts on a uniform, instead of the black and brown people that are being killed by people who also wear uniforms, police officers. However, the saddest thing about Scully's comments is that he considered Jackie Robinson a friend. "I cannot stand and sing the anthem. I cannot salute the flag. I know that I am a black man in a white world," Robinson wrote in his 1972 autobiography, "I never had it made." Scully reminds me of people who like to say that they don't see color. Because the issue with that problematic statement and mindset is that if you don't see a person's color, then you can never see the injustices they've faced or the things they deal with on a daily basis. Tom Tingley, not seeing someone's color is the same as closing your eyes and refusing to acknowledge everything their people have ever endured. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban seems to also suffer from the racial blindness that Scully has succumbed to. Last Friday, Cuban commented on Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green's Instagram post about Houston Texans owner Bob McNair's comments on player protest when he said, "We can't have the inmates running the prison. For starters, let's stop using the word owner and maybe use the word chairman," wrote Green. "To be owned by someone just sets a bad precedent to start. It sets the wrong tone. It gives one the wrong mindset." Cuban feels that Green owes the NBA an apology. For him to try to turn it into something it's not is wrong, Cuban told ESPN. "He owes the NBA an apology. I think he does, because to try to create some connotation that owning equity in a company that you busted your ass for is the equivalent of ownership in terms of people, that's just wrong. That's just wrong in every which way. We own equity, we don't own people. And there's a big difference." Cuban then went on to pat himself on the back and talk about how his franchise teaches players life skills because they treat players like humans and not property. Amanda Edwards wire image. But like Scully, Cuban refuses to understand that this isn't about him or his franchise. What Green and players in the NFL are doing speaks to the bigger picture, one that Scully and Cuban refuse to look at. "I understand both sides," said Green's teammate Andre Iguodala, who serves as vice president of the National Basketball Players Association, to ESPN. "I think Mark Cuban has the right to defend himself because he has a majority stake in an NBA team. But he's done a great job of carrying that position with integrity, with respect, with equality to everyone who's involved with his organization. So, I understand because he's removed himself so far from the other incident that owners have gotten themselves in trouble with references to American historical events. So, I understand that he has to defend himself, but at the same time, he's not able to understand what it's like to be an African American and certain terms being thrown around and how we feel about them. Besides Michael Jordan, Charlotte Hornets, and Vivek Ranadive, Sacramento Kings, every other owner in the NBA is white. And in sports like the NFL and Major League Baseball where players have kneeled during the anthem, there isn't a single black owner. Of the 17 men who are listed on the roster of Cuban's Dallas Mavericks, 11 of them are black. Every day of his life, Cuban is surrounded by black people. And for years, Scully had a front seat to everything Jackie Robinson had to endure. But if you read their quotes from the past few days you wouldn't know it. However, it isn't surprising. Because in America, a race of people that used to be referred to as colored so often gets its heritage and causes treated like it's translucent.